here with Mike on another Wednesday video chat.
Good morning. Today I'd like to talk about tension and dynamics in prose and pictures. Well, what does that mean? It means that a story has to have good dynamics to keep the reader interested, whether it's a comic book or a novel. By dynamics, I mean that the action is always unfolding, the ending is always in doubt, and that the pace varies from spot to spot. There are good thrillers that are straight action all the way through, but the best thrillers and the best novels that you remember have periods of calm alternating with periods of intensity. I always liken a good story to a pop song. It goes like this, and by that I mean you have the tonic, which is the main melody, and then you have the bridge, which introduces a chord that's at odds with the main melody, and then you have the hook, which is a chord that resolves the tension between the two previous chords. And this also happens visually, especially in a comic book. Marvel used to mandate that every page have 8 panels, no more, no less. There were exceptions for full page images, noticeably the splash page, where it's appropriate, but for the most part, devoting an entire page to a single image stops your story cold, while the reader stops and admires the werewolf or whatever. So the rhythm in a comic depends on what's happening. When you have a lot of talking heads, you may want to feature 5 or 6 panels focusing on individual speakers and what they say, but only if what they say is interesting. If they're supplying a rote speech about something or other, readers don't want to read that. They want insight into the reader's characters, or into the story's characters. So use your dialogue as characterization as well as to advance the plot. In fact, I would say the characterization is more important than advancing the plot, which you should do visually as much as possible. When I say a comic book story has its own rhythm and dynamics, I mean that you open it up for the big scenes, and then it gets a little crowded for the talking, quiet scenes. It's okay to have wordless panels. I see them used as timing all the time, and that's the main purpose of the wordless panels. When character A says something, you cut to character B for the reaction, and character B goes like this: panel 2, panel 3, panel 4, panel 5. Are you trying to be funny? That's timing, and it works. So you want your story to pulse out and to pulse in. But a word of caution about full page splashes. They stop the progress of the story dead. I very rarely use them, in fact, hardly ever. I will devote the top 2/3 of a page to a single image, but then I'll devote the bottom third into a single panel or 2 more panels to keep the story going. Otherwise, the story just stops dead right on that page. And remember, if you've seen one explosion, you've seen them all. I'd like to squeeze an explosion into a little 1-inch square and say boom, and say, if you've seen one explosion, you've seen them all. But let's switch to prose for a minute. An attractive prose page has a lot of indentations. Now, we all have read books, many nonfiction, but also some fiction, that consist of an unvariegated block of words with no indentations that's about as attractive as a Soviet housing complex. And you know what I mean by that. Of course, when you have characters speaking, every time a new character speaks, you get a new paragraph. And that means that the left side of the page indents frequently, and that's attractive to a reader, as long as what the writer is putting down is interesting. But keep that in mind. You don't want huge blocks of unvariegated prose on your page. You want the indentations in, out, in, out, in, out, and unconsciously, that adds to the rhythm of the story. Of course, it goes without saying that the writing must be good. So that's my tip.
Okay, well, you've got your buddy Freddie here with you. Hi, Freddie. You're such a good dog.
Freddie is available for consultation.
He is, or pet therapy. All right, are there any exciting new projects that have been published recently?
Florida Man #1, the comic, will be in comic shops next month in June. And if you're interested, please contact your local comic shop and ask them to order it. It's being published by American Mythology, and there will be 3 issues.
Hey, and remember that Mike and Jeff Earls do a Baron Earls show once a week. It's Wednesday evening, right at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. Is that right?
8 p.m. Central.
8 p.m. Central Time when you may watch it, and it is available.
I just want to mention that last week we interviewed Mike Grell, and the week before that we interviewed Walt and Wheezy Simonson.
And we interviewed yours
my
truly.
My lovely wife, correspondent and director and producer.
Okay. I'm sure the other people are much more succinct and interesting. But hey, if you want to listen to me yak about Kickstarters, Indiegogo, self-publishing, a little bit about social media and such, you may listen at 8 p.m. Central Time tonight. Again, we will be doing these on Wednesdays, and stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.